Mike and Jaden with ADS. We're here at the Modern Sportsman. Shout out to them. They're going to let us use their range tonight because we're reviewing a new optic this evening. Jay, what did we get?
We got sent this optic. Cyelee reached out to us on our Instagram, and they were like, hey, we found your stuff. We like it. Can we send you something for you to beat up and try? So they sent us the SRS8, and we like it so far.
Yeah, take a look at this thing. So here it is, RMR footprint, which is pretty cool. But the shape of that lens really lends it more towards it kind of looks like more of a SRO kind of shape. Now, we've seen a ton of other videos and stuff of people literally beating the hell out of Cyelee optics and jumping online and going into the forums because the internet is the source of all truth in the universe, of course. A lot of hit and miss out there as far as like what is the quality of Cyelee. So we asked Cyelee, hey, can we be honest with it? Let's put it through a few paces. Let's actually beat it up and see what this thing can actually do. And so far, what we've seen, we've actually liked. Now, this is, like Jay said, this is the SRS8 Chameleon. And one of the big selling points with this optic is that it is designed really for people with astigmatism. So it has an 8 MOA dot on the inside of that. And one thing to note is when you're shooting this, it does have a slight fisheye lens effect on that.
When you go like this a whole bunch, when you're transitioning, I really haven't noticed it a whole bunch at all.
I noticed it, but it wasn't too distracting. But if that is something that bugs you, it is something to note with the SRS8 Chameleon, as it does have that fisheye effect. And it is a cheaper optic. It's certainly not breaking the bench point of, say, an aim point or an RMR from Trijicon, but
I actually like this more than an RMR.
He did. I tend to lean that way direction too, just for the sole fact that you don't have to take it off to change the battery out. So it does have a top-mounted battery change on
the battery compartment's right up here, right on the top.
Simple start key.
Right there.
Super easy.
Put it in once, never need to take it off again. Don't really ever need to touch it.
Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. And if you are interested in this optic, Cylee's got a deal right now. We have down in the description below a discount code where you can get a discount on this specific optic, the SRS8 Chameleon.
I don't think you have to worry about it being made in China or anything like that. Like,
I've been trying to dig on that to know if it's Chinesium or if it's assembled in the USA with parts from China and parts elsewhere in the world. I haven't found too much on it yet, so I haven't dug too far and too deep into that. But that is something I do want to dig into, and what I find, I'll let everybody know.
We have been seeing. So I think Cylee's been shotgunning their optics out onto the internet because I've been seeing a whole bunch of reviews and everything like that. Everyone's been praising the durability. This handgun was pretty expensive, so I'm not going to chuck it across the room. But
I have no problem throwing a handgun. It is a tool, and what is good as a tool if you can't chuck it across the room?
Well, you know,
you're telling the EOD guy not to chuck things like a hand grenade. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I won't be throwing this whole thing across the room, but it's gotten knocked on a couple things so far.
No, we should freeze it. We should get it wet.
Well, I actually the other day I brought it outside when we got a little bit of a blizzard, and I had to shovel like 4 feet of snow. I had it on my hip the whole time. It got covered in snow. It had water pooling in it and everything like that, and it was still functioning great. So like,
anything on the emitter? Did it get a little?
Nothing really got on the emitter.
Fracturing from the emitter.
Nothing really got on the emitter because it was down the whole time. So I didn't notice any of that. But I also
because it is an open sight emitter.
Yeah, that is the only qualm that I have. I tend to lean more towards fully enclosed emitters just for that little bit of extra security. I mean, granted, I don't have to do really anything around water too often, but you know, if we're outside and it starts to rain, little things like that. If that is a concern of yours, you might want to look towards a closed emitter, which I think
go an acro. They do.
Cyelee actually has
they have a couple, but otherwise, go like an acro. Go one of the Cyelee closed emitters. Go Hollow Sun's got the 510 or
that's
the 507 or 507K.
That's what
I mix up the Hollow Sun nomenclature all the time.
That's what I was looking at originally, because I was like, I need to get an optic for this, and they reached out, and I was like, I no longer need to get an optic for this.
Yeah, but so far, no, we're pretty impressed with this. I'm
solid little piece.
The 8 MOA, I thought it'd be too big. Honestly, it's not too distracting. It's not much. Other things to note, it is waterproof. It's like IXPS 7 rating, so it's like at 1 meter submersion for 30 minutes, and it's water resistant, which is
it's more for being around water than it is for being.
You know, I'm going to say this though, and everybody needs to pay attention to this that makes optics, particularly say EOD EOTech. EOTech, pay attention.
Oh.
Shake awake.
Yep.
It is shake awake, 50,000 hours because it's an LED.
Really, really long battery life.
And I'm how optics are going. There is no excuse that I can't have an EOTech, an EXPS3 with a shake awake. There's no reason why I can't have that, and they need to get on that. Yeah, get a shake awake going for that thing. Absolutely.
I think, well, and especially with your auto off feature, you just know that thing is turned off at the worst possible time on somebody. Like, that's why, like, you gotta, like, if you're out there and you've got an optic on your rifle, you need to, like, just, like, up, down.
That's why a lot of guys prefer an LED. LED.
I can understand that, and it's got fewer moving parts and everything like that. I mean, not that there's moving parts.
All the moving parts in an EOTech.
Not that there's moving parts in an
optic. Gears,
but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
No, I got you.
You got a lot of extra tubes and glass in there.
I don't think your EOTech works if it's got moving parts, mate.
I think if it's got moving parts, fewer parts that can move.
Your optics should not move. All right, let's actually go to the range and shoot this thing.
We unplug?
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned before, the sight picture on this is fantastic. It's nice and big, so it's not like looking through a letterbox. This isn't the first time I've shot it, but it's going to be one of the times I've actually gotten to get more rounds.
We all saw the hop. We all saw it.
Might as well keep it in.
Terrible pre-ignition.
Terrible.
Always press check. Not always. Know the condition of your firearm. All right, so let's talk real quick about maintaining at zero. Come on down real fast. So, Jaden threw a few shots, and then I threw a few shots. No, we're not competing.
But pre-ignition response was pretty bad. Let's be honest.
I'm gonna pre-ignition your response. That's what happens when you forget to press check.
No. Remember the rule. If it goes through the hole, it's technically still a miss.
Okay, so let's talk about the accuracy and maintaining zero now, okay? So, putting a few rounds through, you can see that and we have about, 200 or 300 rounds through this now. And so far, just normal use and abuse, just on a range, outside and indoors. And Jaden mentioned he's dropped it a few times outside into the snow, the cold snow. I mean, like we had a blizzard the other day in Minnesota, got about 4 feet. Super fun. But past that, it's maintained at zero pretty well so far. Now, I've read reports online from the very accurate sources of, say, like Reddit. And some people say it doesn't really keep zero that well. We're finding no issues with that. In fact, I would dare say this is better than Swamp Foxes. I've never been that impressed with Swamp Foxes. They're definitely budget optics. And this is about the same price range too, where you're hitting it into the budget zone. And I think they're built just a little bit better than those Swamp Foxes. Pretty impressed so far. Really, really liking it.
So this is my first time actually shooting this, and I gotta say, I absolutely love it. The dot is the 8 MOA dot. Honestly, it wasn't as big as I thought it was. It was very easy to shoot, didn't obstruct anything. This reminds me a lot of the SIG Romeo and the Trijicon SRO. However, I hate SIG Romeos. This thing, I would easily pick over the SIG.
I kept pulling the first shot. Doing quick transition drills, that fisheye effect, honestly, I don't notice it a whole lot. So I thought it would be more of an issue than it was, and hindsight now, doing just a few drills with that, going back and forth, just quick El Presidentes, it's not too much of an issue. You're not going to notice it. Maybe some will. I'll just throw that out there. It does have that fisheye lens effect, and again, I think it's more to help with that astigmatism, because that's one of the big features on this. This is definitely supposed to help people with astigmatism to be able to shoot an LED red dot. Okay. The Cyelee SRS8 Chameleon. I love that name, by the way. That's pretty cool.
It's a neat little gadget.
It's a neat little gadget. What are my final thoughts? I think this is actually a pretty good optic. I'm pretty impressed with it. Now, what have we done so far? We've gotten about 600 rounds through it so far. It's been thrown into the snow, gotten water into the emitter. The only thing we saw with the emitter getting wet, it didn't damage it. All I saw was just the normal artifacting. And as soon as you fire some shots off, any of the moisture gets shaken loose from that, just like any open emitter. And then you get your clear sight picture all over again. And so getting wet, not really an issue. So rain, I wouldn't even really say an issue for that much. Now,
especially if you have a covered holster with like a flap on it or anything like that.
Yeah, it's got a hood.
You have less to worry about with mud and dirt and things like that getting in there. Still not a huge issue. The only thing I would say, because it has a rounded and it doesn't have the bunny ears like the RMR, not going to be as durable as an RMR for sure. I definitely believe that this thing could take a beating though, for sure. We haven't thrown this one around too much. I'm not super keen on chucking my handgun around a whole bunch if I don't have to.
I have no problem.
I know you have no problem throwing around other people's things. You used to blow stuff up for a living, but I
still blow things up for a living.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Okay, but no, for the
let's not
Cyelee,
blow up my stuff.
No,
how about that?
Jay brings up a good point. It doesn't have the rabbit ears on it like an RMR, and that is going to be a point of weakness with this. So any strong smack on the top of this, good chance it's going to crack that lens, and you're going to have a damaged optic.
You do have quite a bit of metal to get through, but I think that would be a concern.
It's going to be a point of weakness. Rounded hoods, for the enclosure for the glass itself.
Great sight picture though, because of that.
Is a weak point. Now, but I mean that aside, I mean you got the battery, with the battery cover on the top, so it's easy to change it. 50,000 hours, shake awake, which everybody should be having, especially if you're a holographic EOTech. Okay, shake awake is a great feature on this thing. I think this is a good home defense, maybe a pistol caliber carbine.
I would venture to say everyday carry.
Everyday carry. I think this is a good option.
Not sure if I would trust this on like a canted
for an LPVO,
for like an LPVO or a recce rifle or anything like that. But pistol carbines, PDWs, no problem. Could do it all day.
Now, would I recommend it for my law enforcement guys that we train or post-certified classes?
For duty, probably not.
I'm not going to recommend that necessarily to them yet, only because we haven't done enough yet, and we're going to do some more torture testing and everything on it. We haven't done as much yet. I still recommend for my guys, any of the departments that I have coming through our classes, going with a closed emitter, going with an aim-point acro.
I think that's kind of industry.
Or even going a
closed
or RMR again for the bunny ears because it's rugged. If they want an open emitter, or even the closed emitter hollow suns for that point. So anyways, so hey, it's Mike and Jay with Aegis Defense Solutions. Hey, thanks for sticking around. And again, real quick, down in the comments below, we're gonna have a discount code for this optic right here.
It's awesome, honestly.
It's cool.
It's a great little guy. Look at him.
Now,
Fred.
So they. All right, so it's Mike and Jay with Aegis Defense. Remember, stay prepared, not scared. God bless and good night, everybody.